And then what'd he say? And then what you do? Ooh, girl, I would have died.
It is the only food that koalas eat. They have no natural protein.
No way! Stop it! Oh my!
The word marsupial is from the
I know. Yeah. What? Oh, I'm just making some milkshakes. Milkshake.
paws with claws adapted for climbing in the country of Australia.
Watch your show on any TV in your house with Iris, the new HD multi-room DVR from Rev TV. Start watching in one room and pick up right where you left off in another. Call to get Iris in your house today.
The Renward Wells controversy continues as the Prime Minister says the ball is now in Wells's court. DNA leader Brandon McCartney welcomes the Prime Minister's lawsuit threat. One LGBT activist says gay marriage has nothing to do with the upcoming referendum, and what you can do to prevent chikungunya fever. We've got those stories and more coming up tonight. I'm Dana Smith, and NB12 starts right now. Top news tonight, Prime Minister Christie today saying an investigation is being conducted to determine what should happen with Renward Wells after he signed a letter of intent for a major project without authorization. After repeated calls to fire Wells, Christie today said despite being Prime Minister and having the final say, he's also giving Wells the opportunity to decide if he'll stay in his post as Parliamentary Secretary or not. Kyle Joaquin has the story.
When it comes to the controversial issues surrounding the signing of that letter of intent by Renward Wells, Prime Minister Christie says he would leave it up to Wells to decide whether or not he thinks he should step down. But in the same breath, Mr. Christie also said that as the Prime Minister, the final decision lies with him.
I have to make a determination of whether that event in the scheme of my government goes to the root of Mr. Wells' existence as a part of my government.
That was Christie saying that he's now in the process of deciding if Wells will remain a part of his administration or not. This after repeated calls from both the Free National Movement and the Democratic National Alliance for Wells to be fired after he signed the letter of intent for a $600 million waste-to-energy plant with Stellar Waste without cabinet approval. The Prime Minister today said that Wells will decide if he thinks he should stay or not. But at the same time, the Prime Minister also said the decision lies with him as the man in charge.
Mr. Wells has the responsibility of determining whether, in the meantime, what he has done, whether that is sufficient for him to want to step down. I think he's indicated no. But the point is, you should know that at the end of the day, I have the responsibility, which I accept, of making and being the final determinant on what happens with respect to this matter, and I don't want to away from that obligation.
Christie says at the moment he just wants to get an understanding as to what has taken place, and then he will act one way or another. Now, as for what happens with the $600 million deal, Christie says it's in the hands of the government's financial advisors, KPMG, and the ministerial committee headed by the Deputy Prime Minister.
KPMG made a statement. Right now, the affairs of the government is being superintended by KPMG and a ministerial committee headed by the Deputy Prime Minister right now. Okay? That committee spoke through KPMG with respect to that matter, and I thought that was sufficient. All right? So with respect to anything that the government is doing, right now it's in the hands of KPMG and that committee of the cabinet.
Christie has vehemently denied giving Wells authorization to sign the LOI and says after he has a full grasp of everything and a decision is made, he will make an announcement. Reporting for NB12, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
DNA leader Granville McCartney is undaunted by the Prime Minister's threat to take legal action over comments McCartney made concerning the controversy surrounding Wells. McCartney had suggested it was Christie who advised Wells to sign the LOI, and yesterday Christie said he has instructed his attorneys to take the appropriate steps in the wake of that comment. But prior to today, Christie did not directly address the Wells controversy, something McCartney called disrespectful.
It took less than 24 hours for our Prime Minister to respond to the allegation of him causing Mr. Wells to sign the letter of intent. But 2 weeks later, he has yet to respond to the circumstances surrounding the signing of the letter of intent. What a disgrace.
McCartney also called on the Prime Minister to go ahead and take action.
By his silence, he has disrespected this country. He's disrespected PLPs, FNMs, DNAs, and all other persons in this country. And we find it amazing that his only response would be an threat of suit, of defamation of his character. But I encourage Mr. Christie to do that. Do just that, and just don't make it a promise that he will do something and it transpires that he doesn't do it.
McCartney noted many questions still remain concerning the controversy, and court action may be the only way to get answers. And if Christie takes the stand as a plaintiff, he would cross-examine the Prime Minister himself.
Because perhaps this may be the only way we get Mr. Christie to talk, if we get him before the court of law. And you see, as a plaintiff in the matter, he is subjected to cross-examination. And that may be the only way we get Mr. Christie to speak on this issue.
In other news, Prime Minister Christie says he will not apologize for voting against 2002's constitutional referendum and now deciding to hold one this November. This after Free National Movement Chairman Darren Cash said the Prime Minister should give a full-throated apology to the country and to FNMs for leading that no-vote campaign. Today, Christie says he will not give an apology, but instead he will give an explanation. He said as for Cash, he doesn't pay him any mind, as he's only a politician with an office and not an elected member of Parliament.
Leader of the opposition, unlike Darren Cash, is an elected official who I would pay attention to. Darren Cash is a fellow traveler, fellow Bahamian who has an office, and I pay no attention to him, all right, at all, with respect to that, because it's political. He's just political. His terms of reference is political. My terms of reference is governance, and I am devoutly committed to governing over the next 2.5 years that I have left in this term.
But that hasn't stopped Cash's call for an apology.
People who don't understand the emotions and the feelings are quick to say, get over it, without understanding that there are deep-seated feelings, there are emotions, there are hurts, and a part of the healing process really begins with an acknowledgement that in some way you have done people wrong, that as much as they want to forgive, a significant step in the right direction is acknowledging that I know that I have done something to hurt you and that it was wrong, and I apologize for that.
Christie says the remainder of his time in office will be important and extraordinary, and that's what he's focused on. He says the time for an apology has long come and gone.
The time has gone. The elections of 2002 are over. Cuban England characterized those elections by saying whoever wins the referendum will win the election. The people won the referendum because, remember now, it was the church that opposed the referendum, because the church, all of the leaders of the churches opposed the referendum because they said they were insufficiently consulted.
Well, the Christie administration is stressing and insisting proposed amendments to the Constitution would not change the law as it relates to same-sex marriage. But one human rights activist says gender equality is a step in the right direction for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender community. Our Jasmine Brown has the details in this report.
Green says while the proposed amendments will not mean gay marriage is legalized in the Bahamas, it will still impact the LGBT community. A constitutional referendum is scheduled for November 6th. In preparation, government has introduced 4 bills designed to ensure gender equality as it relates to the issue of citizenship. Green, who has advocated for LGBT rights in the Bahamas for several years, says while the referendum seeks to expand the rights of men and women, it also bodes well for the LGBT community. Green says granting equal rights for women could be a start for equal rights for different sectors of society.
Expanding the rights of men and women will also expand the rights of LGBT people in the Bahamas, because LGBT people are men and women also. This bill does impact the lives of LGBT people. As a spokesperson for RAB, from 2003 until now as an individual human rights activist, I've been reiterating constantly my position that wherever the word sex appears in the Constitution, there's an implicit protection for LGBT people, right? And this is universal language.
Concerns have been raised over the wording of questions in the upcoming referendum. Earlier this week, DNA leader Branville McCartney cautioned on the word gender, saying it's too broad and could open the door for gay marriage if coupled with a simple amendment. But Green says the LGBT community believes it has nothing to do with gay marriage, and the fact that gay marriage is being thrown into the conversation is nothing more than a political smokescreen.
This is not a gay marriage bill by any means, but it is a bill that engages LGBT issues. Where we begin to tread on intellectual dishonesty is when we give people the impression that this is an automatic road to gay marriage. It is not an automatic road to gay marriage. While the bill will essentially expand the implicit rights for LGBT people, it will not enact gay marriage, and it will not force the government to enact gay marriage.
While she advocates for the rights of the LGBT community, she says gay marriage should not be a deciding factor when Bahamians cast their vote in the upcoming referendum. Green says for now, the focus is on getting equal rights for women. She encouraged Bahamians to do their research and make an educated vote.
I would hate to think that Bahamians would deny women and men equality and equity under the law because they're concerned about LGBT people getting rights. I think it's very important for people to engage this referendum no matter how they vote. I think it's about time that we begin to address the issues of gender equality, equality between men and women. I think it's time to address the reasons why it has taken us so long.
Green says amending the Constitution is a complex issue that deserves a proper educational campaign. She insists the government, opposition, and civil society have so far failed to do just that. Reporting for NB12, I'm Jasmine Brown.
You're watching the best in Bahamian news. There's more when NB12 returns.